ago, I was driving through the heartland. I was going to North Platte, Nebraska. And I stopped for a cup of coffee off the highway at a country gas station. And as I was leaving with the coffee, there was a rack of brochures next to the door. And the headline, the title on one of the brochures, caught my eye. It was "Beware When You're in the Woods." Now, I'm a woodsy guy. I like to fish and I like animals. And it interested me, and I grabbed one of the brochures. And I was thinking in the back of my mind, this is about ticks and Lyme disease and maybe don't disturb the spotted owl. I read the brochure later, and I was stunned. I shouldn't have been, but I was stunned. It was a warning to the people of Nebraska. When you're walking through the woods, enjoying the countryside, use caution because you may walk up on a drug lab, a crystal meth lab. And now, just like the old days when people guarded the old stills with guns, you still have people with guns guarding these meth labs, only now they're drug-crazed cons with guns. And where you have crystal methamphetamine, you have check and credit card fraud. They go hand in hand. The solution to identity theft is multifaceted, and it involves social change and education. And some of what the federal and state governments have come up with, I call David Copperfield laws. They're laws that create the illusion of protection, but in truth have little impact on the problem. Breach notification laws have desensitized America. We're constantly hearing about them, the theft of a laptop or some database taken from a business. And it really has desensitized people to the point where they're not even responding to it now. And I talk to these people. They get breach notification notices. They are not responding to it by pulling their credit reports. And data protection, encryption, and mandates on the private sector. Important? Yeah, but how important? Richard Skinner, the Inspector General of Homeland Security, he recently presented the government with a State of the Cyber Affairs report. And I have a summary of the report. This is it. This report declares that the federal government, Homeland Security, cannot protect any data from any hacker. In LA County, like other cities, the sheriff is screaming, I don't have the funds to comply with federal law. I need funds to keep these prisoners in jail longer so they can do their sentence. But they're told, the sheriffs are told, you can't have the funds. Sorry. So they release these prisoners out into the street, threatening the community again. In Los Angeles, at the same time I'm reading about the sheriff fighting for funds, I'm reading about the mayor going to China, to our sister city in Beijing, where he purchased 3 golden monkeys for $1 million. Didn't carry the monkeys home. This is a couple years ago. They still don't have the monkeys. He couldn't take them home because he had to assure the Chinese he'd provide the right habitat so the monkeys would be comfortable, so they'd be treated correctly while they're here. It was a $4 million project. Actually, the whole package is up to $8.5 million, and we still don't have the monkeys in Los Angeles. But I guarantee you, when those monkeys arrive, they're going to be locked in a cage. They're going to be given a delicious, balanced diet. And there's going to be no early release program for them, is there? We've got our priorities wrong. Keep the prisoners in jail, free the monkeys. One of my first informants on the job, I arrested for forgery. And this is a guy who used to get credit cards from the pimps and prostitutes in Hollywood. And he would iron out a couple of the cards to make them flat blank cards again. He would erase the black ink or tipping off the card, and now he had blanks to work with. And he would take a razor blade, and he would shave numbers off stolen cards, and then super glue them on the flattened out card so that the sequence of numbers would be active accounts, and he would present those to merchants in Hollywood or in Los Angeles, and he would purchase or get services in somebody else's name. He was an early identity thief, and of course these would be hand-keyed transactions, or the merchants or business people would phone to get approval codes on those transactions. Now, I mentioned that first informant was cutting up the credit cards. Well, they don't have to do that today. A criminal just puts in an order over the internet, and a couple hundred perfectly designed counterfeit cards will be airborne express to their home. And I'm fascinated by how technology has caused this crime to morph, and the fact that it's now global. Third world governments, developing nations, turn a blind eye to their criminals probing the U.S. for vulnerabilities. And it's like the U.S. is now a pond full of victims. And know this, that day and night the Chinese government sanctions hackers, professional hackers, to probe the U.S. government and business systems attempting to take anything of value, including unprotected research papers and intellectual property. We've codenamed this attack Titan Rain.
Now, Titan is one of the moons of Saturn, and Titan has a poisonous atmosphere, and that's the reason that the federal government, the people that are trying to stop this intrusion, named it Titan Rain, because it is so poisonous to our economy and to big business. All of the college campuses have been hacked. And I'm here to tell you that I had an informant who's from Europe who told me that this information, everybody thinks, well, what are they going to do? They're going to get college students identifying information. So what? They get social security numbers. These college students are broke. They're not going to be 10 years from now. They're the professionals of the future. They're the doctors, the lawyers, the professional people. They have all of this information. These databases are banked, and all this information is going to be used later.